The next day, one of the students rang me and he told me that police is now digging out the ant-hill. So that is the kind of witch hunt that we have so far entertained as leaders of the DP. When I became the National League Advisor, the laws of Uganda did not allow the Democratic Party to front a single candidate to participate in elections of the East African Legislative Assembly. As the National Legal Advisor of the party, I discovered that the laws were inherently not in consonance and they violated the East African Community Treaty. I went to court in Tanzania. I argued a case for a warrior, defeated Uganda, obtained an injunction against parliaments until rules were to be amended to allow all parties to compete. Today I see all parties competing without according me at least a pilgrimage to my home in order to thank me for the freedom that I established. I brought that freedom to all the political parties in Uganda. Personally, I single-handedly handled the case, funded the case, I did the wonders. That is when I got elected as a member of the East African Legislative Assembly. I was the first DP to become a member of Iyala in Uganda. Before that, FDC and NRM were just sharing Iyala slots. NRM would take 7, FDC would take 2. So there were 2 parties. Sometimes I would even see FDC members indicating that we are 2. There is this hand, there is this finger, there was another finger, but I was asking myself, whose hand is it? So that is what used to happen. We removed that hurdle. Now we have competition in Parliament. Several people had tried to compete but had failed. The late Right Honourable Jacob Bolanya had tried as independent but failed. The Right Honourable Anita Mongo had tried but failed. When I came, I made it. Some of you don't even recognize that those were former contenders for Iyala that did not make it. So when I spoke to the country, telling my president that it is wrong for you to run for speakership in that manner, you will not win, you will not get more than 20 votes. Some of you thought I was joking. I know that parliament. I have won elections in that parliament for 10 years, so I know. What happened? He emerged with 14 votes, including the one that he came with from home, that made it 15. Now, there must be a different way and a manner in which we should handle our issues. I am not here to spill the beans. No, that is not me. But I'm here to guide the country. Some people were telling me, why are you going to talk and address the media? This should be in-house matter. No, politics is a public affair. Which house? You do not conscript the Democratic Party against its own membership. Let us build the consultative frameworks that will ultimately now make sure those that will sit in the house have got opinions reflecting the ground. The people's level to govern themselves democratically is proportionate to the degree of their understanding of the structure and functioning of the whole social body. They must be informed. We are going to make sure we do as wide consultations as possible throughout the country. I have stepped forward to give that leadership, to consult. We have a party president that is serving a last term. So we cannot sit and wait for him to just leave as if we are going to be capable of switching on now a new dispensation after his departure. He said bye to the delegates in Mbarara. So clearly this is his last term. You can see even the manner in which is handling DP affair. He's not consultative within DP. Majorly, he's more consultative away from the party. So that is why we need to now make sure we consult as much as we can. So my background, I have been in DP all through. As vice president, what have I done? Some of you don't even go to, you go to YouTube, you will find some of these cases that Ugandans are not aware of. There is a case I lodged against 4 countries. Against Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania. Because Ugandans are here, but you are unaware that you don't have access to justice on human rights causes. You are not aware. There is no justice you can access. Because for violation of fundamental human rights, you can't run to Uganda's courts. It is a chase in futility. Of course, we know that our courts are now almost punctuated by cadasship. So you can't run there and obtain judgment on fundamental respect for human rights. The available court is the African Court on Human and People's Rights. But all of these countries that I took to court do not allow citizens to sue. You know what? Because they signed a specific law that establishes that court, the African Protocol on Human and People's Rights, particularly Article 34, Clause 6, if I am not mistaken. I had to sue these countries because they are refusing to deposit declarations in that court as a requirement for you to be allowed to sue in that court. People like Segirinya, like who, they would have had redress for violations of their rights. People like Dr. Besigye, who would be having a cause ongoing in the African court. I don't know what my colleague lawyers are doing in Uganda. The guy has no court of second application. There is no instance that he can run to. They keep on bringing him to courts, managed by those that have promised war against him. So which kind of justice is he going to obtain? It is that court. I am still struggling. That was reference number 2 of 2012. When I sued the only objective we obtained during that period was that yes, the East African Court of Justice can handle matters related to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. You journalists don't know these things, but you're supposed to know them. When I mention, you go and read. But that still sovereignty demands that the deposits can be brought as and when the partner states or state parties choose. But here in Uganda, access to justice, they need 48 hours. How does it take you 15 years without depositing after the establishment of a court? It is now idle. We keep sending judges to do nothing for Uganda. Those are struggles I have engaged in, but they are intellectual struggles. And I know that the majority of politicians now in Uganda, I am not in a hurry to call them intellectual. When you now look at what is happening in parliament, all voters have shown up, they are the ones in parliament. Most MPs never won. So we are going to be dealing with the body politic in Uganda that requires a complete overhaul. We don't have representatives. So the political parties that should otherwise run the oversight docket as much as practical are also choosing to be either silent or siding with the government without proper arrangements. So we are becoming a mongrel. You know, a mongrel, it can be a type of a dog, but which has been crossbred so much to the extent that nobody knows even what it is. Looks like a dog, it looks like a goat, anything can happen. So the Democratic Party has been turned into a mongrel. And that is why we don't win an election when we stand, because we have no message. The opposition believe we are part of government. Government believes we are part of the opposition. They front candidates against us, they torture us, The public is torturing us. Then we have a party president who now takes pride in winning one single parliamentary election and calling all the others veranda politicians. What is wrong with him? So something has to be done. My brother has to. You see, a running man whose clothes have caught fire usually does not recognize that the running itself is continuing with fan flames. You have to put him down, cover him with blankets. That is the science that we studied in primary 4. The time is now to apply blankets to a man who is running but his clothes have caught fire. I am not a section moralist, so I am not scared of tearing the old skin and giving it a new name. That is not me. So people with weak minds and hearts will not follow us because we are going to start small. So we have gone to the bush. When they rigged the Democratic Party in 1980, some people went to the bush. 27. We have commenced consultations that will clearly indicate that we have taken a route to the bush, also to redeem the Democratic Party. So we are going to do consultative work throughout the country in the form of meetings, in the form of conventions, even in the form of political rallies, until we achieve the major objective. We have given this experiment 3 years of active service, and we are going to be extremely active, reaching out to all and sundry branches of the party until we arrive at the best framework for our own leadership. Because throughout our consultations, going to be coming up with a list of possible replacements. I am leading this struggle not to replace him personally, but if I were given the opportunity, I can tell you I will show up an hour even before such an opportunity is granted to me. As Vice President of the party for 3 terms, I have dispensed with all work that is related to the presidency. Some of you are not even aware that much has been done by me anyway, except of course the poor services that have been rendered to the party. Those are usually sources of our disagreement with my brother. I have worked with him for 25 years. I know him in terms of politics, except when he started saying he's playing cards on his chest. Now the chest was signed before by his wife. That is an area where I don't usually reach. So since the cards are on his chest, I have brought back the politics into the public so that we can run the party properly. So it is a question, which dream do we have as the Democratic Party? Some of you have been castigating the DP because of the cooperation agreement. No, the cooperation agreement per se is not the problem. The problem is failure even to implement that agreement. Number 2, the protagonist himself chose to suffer from employomania, excessive love for public office. He forgot even what is provided for in the cooperation agreement. I have it here. The guy was told he's going to be Minister, Justice and Constitutional Affairs. He started running up and down, wanting to act as IGG. Then he runs around, he wants to be Speaker. Now I don't know which other position he wants to occupy, maybe police. So those are not part of the arrangement. When the contracting party begins to see you as undecided, incoherent, and probably becoming a nuisance, he doesn't waste time with you. He will leave you where he actually found you. So the NRM, because of this conduct, zeroed down to one principle, that probably this agreement was meant to provide employment opportunity for one signatory. The DP has always had working relationships. It has. I can safely tell you part of the history. The Democratic Party has worked with the governments in order to bring out changes, peace, tranquility, and addressing its own manifesto provisions, even within governments that don't belong to it. Even in the government of Idi Amin, when Chiwanuka worked, he entered with Abu Mayanja, Edward Lukumayo, Sebalu. He was there. Dr. Semogere in the Lulezi government, he joined with Evaristo Nyanzi, Sebana Chizito, Mulenga, and Chitariko. In Aisa's government, Dr. Semogere entered with Bwenje and Kaira. DP, Rutwazi government, Dr. Semogere entered with the Evaristo Nyanzi, Sebana Chizito, Professor Chesimira, Robert Chitariko. They worked. And he started trying to manage the talks, the 1985 talks in Nairobi, between the NRA and the substantive Rutwa government. Even in Museveni's government, Dr. Semogere was still consulted. He entered with Semogere, with the Sevana, Evaristo, Mulema, and the rest. It is only this president that thinks the party has no business where he himself is moving. You see, even when you are driving a truck, do you see what happens? The truck head is usually marked by two materials. Sometimes they look like horns. What are they called? That are fixed on the truck head. They are intended to measure the size of the truck itself, because the head doesn't move alone. In the DP, we have a president that will take a corner even without indicating. You cannot run a political party that way. It gets reduced to just complete nothingness. We are not for purposes of recruiting for the NRM. We are a political party with objectives. We are a political party with a manifesto. We are a political party with leaders, and with the political leaders occupying office is a logical necessity, because that is the only way you can move opinions reduced in the form of your manifesto into government decisions. So we have our president. We have not amended. For us, we thought that the agreement was for purposes of amending the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, providing for extreme conditions for re-establishing and going back to respect for fundamental human rights, procedures and processes within which we can come up with an electoral commission, so that we can definitely have an election that we call an election. This electoral commission is appointed as a task force by one candidate. How do you expect it to declare him a loser? There are jurisdictions all over the world that have actually done templates that can deliver democracy. Mozambique electoral commission is elected by parliament. South Africa, the judiciary participates. In Kenya, a coalition of parties and other commissions participate in establishing the electoral commission. So allegiance is not to a candidate, but to the country. We continue to have an electoral commission whose allegiance is to a candidate. The Democratic Party can't be seen to be comfortable saying we are part of that government. We can't be the same. Therefore, when you have a brother who is comfortable just being appointed from position to position without any fundamental provisions that take care of the aspirations of and the opinions in our manifesto as the Democratic Party, no consultations are done. I recently saw he fidgeted by writing a letter to President Museveni. I know, Muzei, you know, your Central Executive Committee is going to sit. Please consider me so that I come and address you, so that I can become speaker. Then I was asking myself, the man who has the guns, the banks, the power, is convening a meeting to decide. Then you, without even an arrow, you can't convene yours to decide. So who is the Democrat of the two? The one who convenes a meeting to take a decision that he could actually have taken alone. He is going to sit, even if the sitting is a veneer. You know, a veneer, it could be a club, a pastime activity, but at least he makes comfortable his own people that they have participated in taking a decision of who becomes the speaker, the number 3 of the country. So the Democratic Party must get back to its own senses so that we can be in position to bring back the freedom of our members to participate. Our president cannot be crucified for having made mistakes. No. If you fail to make mistakes, the meaning is that you have not worked. We have allowed him to make his mistakes. The time is now ours to make our own fresh mistakes. That is what we must do. Leadership is just like a marriage. You don't marry anybody for the sublime or for the good. Most likely take a decision in marriage in accordance to the mistakes of the person. Marry somebody in accordance to the mistakes you can bear. Otherwise, your marriage can be a future divorce cause. Look at the mistakes and decide whether you should marry. That is leadership. We have stepped forward to include the population of the Democratic Party so that we can be allowed to commit our own mistakes. We are done with his, let us start with ours. What we can promise, however, is that our mistakes are going to be participatory. That the whole DP fraternity is going to participate in making these mistakes.